Welcome back to r/Neighbors from Hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Help! Animals were killed by neighbor's wolf dog. Sorry for the wall of text, I am currently trying to figure out what my best course of action is concerning this issue, or if legal action is even worth pursuing. On February 10th, our neighbor's sheep was killed by a neighborhood dog. Our neighbor saw the dog attack his sheep and it attempted to drag the body off his property. Our neighbor tried to shoot at the dog, but it just scared the dog away. An hour later, the dog was on our property and we merely attempted to run it off our property since we didn't want to kill it. 10 days later, one of my favorite roosters was killed and we only found his feathers but not his body. We had free-range chickens in the back of our property, which is about a mile out from the main dirt road and over a mile from any neighboring houses. We had them since 2014. On March 3rd, my other rooster was killed. Again, we only found his feathers with cartilage from where he had been attacked. I took it pretty hard since he was by far my favorite rooster. They are honestly like pets. Over the next week or so, all of our hens went missing, I would say about 8 of them. The only ones that had survived at this point were my peacock, peahen and our duck. Our other chickens had been locked up since they were still small. Throughout the month we would see this white dog on our property every single time we would run it off. Not only did we not have the heart to kill it, we also didn't want any type of retaliation on our animals since our dog likes to run off every day. On March 20th we saw the same dog harassing our peacock. We ran it off again, this time shooting at it so that it wouldn't come back. 2 days later I found his remains. He was just starting to grow out his tail, so it was a devastating loss. At this point we were certain that this dog was coming into our property and killing our animals. On March 25th our neighbor saw the dog eating a calf down the road. This dog had killed and dragged a small calf down our main dirt road. It was there for a day or until she moved it. 2 days later she showed up on our property again and killed our sheep. She attacked both of them, one she killed and began to eat on the spot, the other one we rushed to the vet. While we tried to load the surviving sheep onto our car, our neighbor pulled into our driveway. She admitted that she had seen her dog eating our sheep while she was leaving, but since she had a doctor's appointment, she just kept driving. When she came back home, her dog was still eating the sheep, but she didn't take any action. It wasn't until she saw us outside that she decided to come over. At some point a deputy showed up and my mom and my neighbor discussed what had been happening. She admitted that she had been finding animal carcasses in her backyard but didn't think anything of it. Earlier that week her dog had killed all her pheasants, so she was thinking of getting rid of the dog. The deputy advised my mom that we had the right to kill the dog on our property since it was attacking our animals. Our neighbor agreed and permitted us to shoot her dog if we saw it back on our property. She stated that if it didn't come back she would get rid of it later in the day, and she then admitted that her dog was actually a wolf dog since she had killed our animals. She promised my mom a peacock to pay for the sheep she had killed and to cover the vet costs for the injured sheep. She also agreed to come up with an arrangement for our chickens. The deputy asked my mom if she was good with these terms and my mother agreed. So the deputy witnessed the promises our neighbor had made to us and left. The wolf dog neighbor also reached out to the guy who had lost his sheep in February and agreed to pay him for the cost of the sheep. While my mom was at the vet, the wolf dog returned. She came back to continue eating the sheep, which was still on our property. We have donkeys and horses on our property, so we shot at the dog, but it ran off. The next day the vet called us to tell us our sheep hadn't made it through the night. We called our neighbor and she stated that she would cover the cost from the vet but would not be covering any other costs since someone had shot and killed her dog. This dog was a nightmare for the last month. She killed from 3 different properties as well as from her owners. We were out 13 animals and she refused to pay for the damages. Not only did we have a right to kill the animal, she allowed us to. We are incredibly upset over the situation and we just want our animals back. What can I do to get her to cover the costs of everything we lost? Is it even something worth pursuing? We live in a rural town in East Texas. We have been here since 2014 without any problems. We were just getting started on having farm animals. Any and all help is greatly appreciated. Feel free to ask any questions. Edit, thank you so much for the feedback. I honestly didn't think I could do much about our issue, and I am so glad that we can. I have typed up my demand letter, and once we decide on a reasonable amount to cover the damages, I will be sending it certified mail. I honestly appreciate all the info, and I've definitely learned my lesson. Update, so she didn't bother to reply or give us a call regarding the demand letter. I have the receipt where she received and signed for the letter. Looks like we are heading to small claims. The letter was addressed from my mom. She has been out of town for the past week, but I was sure to include my number as a contact. Will I have to wait on my mom to go to small claims, or am I able to submit this on her behalf? My mom was the one dealing with our neighbor. I am just here to help. But I live with her, so these were my animals too. Any additional input is appreciated, thank you. And a user in the comments said, her dog destroyed your property, you have documentation of that and a police report, you sent a demand letter for your expenses and then you sue her. That her animal was destroyed doesn't absolve her of your damages. Your shitty neighbor not only owes you the vet costs for the sheep, she owes you the replacement cost of every animal her dog killed. Tally up what it would cost you to purchase every animal the dog ate and killed. When you are estimating costs, go for a straight replacement, so adult laying hens instead of chicks. I'm assuming here that adult hens cost more. Get your vet's bill and send the woman a demand letter. The Texas small claims court limit is 10K. If the amount for the animals is less than that, you can take her to small claims court and try to get the money on your own. If the replacement costs of your animals and the vet bill are over 10K, then you will have to go to regular court, where I would suggest that you hire an actual lawyer for sure. If you have to hire an actual lawyer, I would suggest that you talk to your other neighbors who have also lost animals and see if they would be willing to band together and all of you sue her together. That would save you a little money in lawyer fees at least. And guys, if you were in this awful situation, what would you suggest the OP to do? And in addition, if you have watched until here and enjoyed the stories about neighbors, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even post some star emojis in the comments. Thank you so much in advance. And an update to the animals killed story. Seeking more help, animals were killed by neighbor's wolf dog. So the demand letter was sent and I gave them about a week or so to make a payment or at least reach out to us. She didn't. My mom has been out of town and probably won't be back soon. The letter was sent from her since she was the one dealing with the neighbor. These animals were cared for by all of us at home. Since the demand letter has expired, will my mom be the one needing to go to small claims to file this, or can I do that for her? I want to show my neighbors that we are incredibly serious about getting something in return, but since all contact has been from my mom, I want to make sure we do this right. Thanks in advance for any help. And a user in the comments said, so I can give you a little guidance here. In Texas, you are allowed to appeal from small claims court directly to the county court. It is considered a de novo appeal, which means the judgment from the small claims court will be set aside and you try the case all over again in front of the county judge. And a jury if you want. Also, I don't know what monetary damages you suffered, but you may want to consider getting a lawyer. I think you may have a breach of contract claim from the agreement you made with her in front of the police officer and breach of contract claims allowing the winning party to recover attorney fees. Therefore, an attorney may take this on a contingency basis. Good luck to you. Another update to the neighbor wolf dog story. Here is an update to my post. We have lost various animals to our neighbor's wolf dog. One of our sheep had survived the attack and we had taken her to the vet since our neighbor had agreed to cover the costs. She had also agreed to replace the other animals we had lost to her dog. The vet costs were more than our neighbor had bargained for and she decided she had done enough. So, as suggested, I went ahead and sent a demand letter against my neighbor for the animals that her wolf dog had killed. I recounted our version of the events and asked to be compensated for the animals we had lost. I sent it on 6 April 2018 and never heard back from her. On 21st May 2018, I went ahead and filed a small claims against her. When I went to file, I had my demand letter and proof that she had signed for it with me. The clerk, who later turned out to be the county's justice of the peace, told me that she did not need those documents, only my form for the suit. That I would have to bring those copies in when a court date was set. At some point, my neighbor was served. On 6th June 2018, I received a notarized letter from her where she stated her side of the story and said she did not feel she owed us anything since she had paid for the vet bill and her dog had been killed. She went on to put the blame on the fact that we live in a rural area, and she tried to pass the blame on other dogs in the area that would roam with her dog. Now, I am aware that I live in a rural area, but we haven't lost any more animals since her dog was killed. Our animals are not constantly being chased by her dog. As for the other dogs she referenced, they no longer come into our property. Either way, we looked forward to pleading our case. On 15th June 2018, I received a court letter with our court date. On 22nd June 2018, I received a call from the Justice of the Peace's office. The clerk advised me that I needed to bring a copy of the vet bill. This threw me for a loop since I had not mentioned a vet bill in my suit and I was not allowed to leave a copy of my demand letter. Either way, I made copies of everything I had, including screenshots from a video where their wolf dog refused to leave the sheep carcass on our property. I had court yesterday and I lost. While we waited for our trial to begin, she was catching up with the constable that was assigned to our case. While it is a small town, it made me feel uneasy that she was obviously friends with him. Our trial was in a small courtroom. My witnesses were not allowed inside until they were asked to tell their version of events. She was allowed to bring in her husband, he was allowed to question me, and he blamed me for not telling him sooner. He was rude and arrogant. Their whole strategy was that I should have told them about their dog being a problem. The problem was mine. She also accused me of fabricating my story since for some reason the police report noted that we had lost 80 chickens when we had really lost 8. I simply stated that it was possible it was a typo, the whole report had errors. When she did this, I pointed out how her story had changed from the notarized letter she sent me. In the letter she stated that she had seen her dogs and other dogs eating something on our property, but she drove on. When she got back from the doctor, she saw that there was a dead animal and she decided to come see what had happened. In court, she said that she stopped by as soon as she had seen her dog attacking our sheep. What actually happened, she didn't stop by till she saw a deputy at our house. During the trial, she brought up that our dogs pee on our property and had photos of them on her property. I'm not sure how that was relevant, but the judge took it as evidence. I'm not justifying that our dogs be allowed on her property. That is something I aim to fix, but her property is not even fenced off. So I'm confused at how this was relevant. Additionally, at one point her husband argued with me that I was probably just seeing a coyote on our property and that I had simply confused it with their dog. I confused a coyote with a white husky-like dog wearing a red collar. Yeah. The judge favored with my neighbors. She stated that I had no other proof that their dog was responsible for our other animals, that she had paid enough with the vet bill, and that in the future I should try to notify my neighbors of what their dogs are doing. I needed to have photos ready of every single time I saw that dog on our property. I was floored. I felt like my case was built around their testimony. Am I wrong in feeling this way? I appreciate all the help you all provided. Unfortunately, it did not bring me the resolution I had hoped for. I have lost faith in East Texas courts. And yeah guys, that is something how these stories end, because obviously the stories, at least most of the stories I read, are not fake stuff from entitled parents, but instead these are real stories, and real life is not very often a fairy tale, so sometimes it can have a rather negative ending. But I mean, in this case, at least the neighbor paid. And the next one is titled, Would I be the a-hole for embarrassing the neighbors for trespassing in our backyard? Our family moved into our home about 2 years ago. We moved in and our adjacent neighbor has been a nightmare. They are a 40-something couple who have a 5-year-old son with developmental disabilities. When we first moved in, we wanted a privacy fence for our dogs. Our realtor, our seller's realtor, and our seller said it wouldn't be an issue. The neighbor fought the HOA about it for 3 months, and due to this situation and needing a fence, we made huge concessions and installed a 4-foot fence. It started with them calling the cops one morning when my husband got home from work on a Sunday morning, sat on our backyard deck after a night shift and drank a beer and hung out with our daughter. They said he was endangering our daughter. Thankfully, the cop understood wanting a beer after a night shift and just popped in and popped out. We had a little Fisher-Price playhouse last summer for her to play in, and they reported it to the HOA. We hung a baby swing off a tree branch, same thing. Call from the HOA. The mom particularly will park her minivan in front of our driveway so husband can pull in or out of the garage and wicks out when my husband comes and knocks on her door at 5:30 AM to move it. Suffice to say, we have learned our lesson, and when we decided to install a playset, we jumped through the hoops. Last month we had a landscaper install it. It is essentially a playground in our backyard. We both work essential jobs and no one is home during the day. My husband switched to nights and has watched the past 2 weeks her or her husband or her have been letting themselves into our backyard to let their son play for an hour or two twice a day. First through the gate, which we then locked, and now they jump the fence and bring a stepladder to get back over. They always wait for me to leave for work. I'm not sure they see my husband pull in at 6-ish AM. We bought a security camera that records. Am I the a-hole if my plan is to record them playing in my backyard and putting it on the neighborhood next door and Facebook page? She is active in both and complains about us, including a post about our playground landscaping being insensitive. My other option is to call the cops, but I don't want to frighten their son. And a user in the comments said, not the a-hole, but be the bigger person and go to your HOA first and let them know that the next step is to call the cops. You don't want them threatening to sue you if you put the video on social media. I understand they would probably lose if they did sue, but you lose too if you had to hire legal counsel. Good luck with these a-holes. Edits, first of all, OP, please let us know what happens. I see in comments to my posts that there are some stating you have every right to post a trespassing video on social media. Since none of us know where you are located, I don't think it is good advice. Know what your rights are as well as the trespasser's rights before you follow that type of advice. As one poster suggested, have their car towed next time it is blocking your driveway. And another user said, not the a-hole, but keep it to proper channels, call the cops for trespassing, contact the HOA every time you notice them parked blocking your driveway, and call and have it towed immediately. All your neighbors seem to know about them anyway, word will get out, and how is calling the cops scary for the son? They already called the cops on you for legal activity on your own property. Also, are scrubs and trees legal in lieu of fence for privacy? Perhaps with thorns? Can you add a privacy screen or trellis to your porch/deck? Good luck. And OP posted this update, update number 1, I spoke to 2 attorneys. Specifically, I used Google and searched for previous cases involving my HOA where the attorney represented the homeowner. This particular HOA is really not afraid to spend money on lawsuits. He thought if we wanted a higher fence and installed without permission or landscaped any further, we would be fined if someone complained. B. The HOA cannot do anything about her behavior, and for a few $100s she will draft a letter making it clear we find this lady's posts on their Facebook to be harassing. C. To call the non-emergency police and leave a message. And D. As far as she is concerned, we have the appropriate insurance for our attractive nuisance. E. Because they are using a letter to use our attractive nuisance to get over the fence and an adult always accompanying him, that the particular laws in our state make it very clear if it is not easily accessible, it is not an attractive nuisance and it only covers children. And F. There's nothing illegal about posting it on Facebook/Nextdoor. Update number 2, I spoke with the non-emergency police line and the community assigned police officer called me about 10 minutes later. The community police officer, he was very nice, looks like he's been winding down his career as a school police COO and a community cop, agreed if I called him today he would come and help me have the conversation and issue them a warning about trespassing. I don't want them charged, but I want to be the bigger person, even if I want nothing more than to be extra petty and put her on blast with the neighbors. They showed up for the afternoon play around 2:30, the dogs and cameras let me know. I called the officer and he parked down the block and we both walked around the house. He verified my gate is locked to my very surprised neighbors. I said, "Hey Rachel, we need to talk. We can sit down and do it. I am pissed you are all in my backyard without my permission, but I feel like I can control my emotions." I told her we had noticed that they were at first letting themselves into my backyard, but now they were breaking into it. I said coming into my yard without my permission needed to end today. The officer point blank said he works 8 to 5 Monday to Friday and will respond immediately to any trespassing incidents after today. She got a little snippy and started talking back to the officer, but the officer escorted her and her son and her ladder off the property and said he didn't want to hear it and that she is an adult and she cannot go into a fenced property even when it is unlocked. Rachel posted not even 15 minutes after this happened on the neighborhood Facebook with a picture of my backyard about how ridiculous it is that you can get a playground approved in a backyard. And how ugly it is and how it is devaluing everyone's property. And how it is dangerous and if anyone thinks it is impeding her view. Some agreement from her friends and a few people reminding her we live in a very kid-friendly neighborhood and it looked nice and natural. I also posted in the neighborhood Facebook with a picture from my office of my backyard with her and her son using a ladder to get over the fence in my backyard. Really good ISO landscaping suggestions on my fence line to keep neighbors out. I may be using our stimulus check on getting some supplies and making portable privacy screen/fence/trellis garden boxes. Suffice to say, her Facebook post is deleted and her husband Facebook messaged me asking me to delete mine. And guys, unfortunately we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.